Hey, what's happening, guys? Dan Darrow here with another Options to Play video update. I didn't do the earnings on the radar last week. Apologize for that. I was away from my desk, so I couldn't get together. So we are back in form this week, and actually the next few days should be relatively busy. I mean, a lot of for this late in the quarter, still a lot of like big names due out to report. All right, so for the open on Monday, LI. Chinese auto name, priced in about 2.5 points. XPEV just reported this week was solid. Neo had good results earlier in August. Solid, but neither really moved too much. It just, the Chinese EV names still seem to be weighed down by the overall action of Chinese stocks in general. And to me, would be more of like a swing trade if it really got going because just the action just has not been great recently. The EV names are better than other Chinese tech names, but still not great action though. After the close on Monday, a big one, Zoom. So about 18 points or so is what's expected. Earnings haven't been as big of events on Zoom for a couple quarters now, and with the 5.9 deal, volatility might be a little bit more muted this time around. Plus, the chart has been kind of choppy too, so I guess I don't really have much of a read on it down here. I'll probably wait and see what they say, see where the stock is after before jumping in for a trade. But it does have a history of like extended runs, right? Where when it moves, it can string together a few days, even a couple weeks in a row. So if I miss the first day, that's fine as long as hopefully if I can participate on like a extended run, or extended run, right? So I don't mind missing the first day as long as I can kind of get like a chunk of the actual big move. Before the open on Tuesday, so a couple of Chinese tech names. Futu, just priced in about 11.5 points. It's been attempting to hang on to this 100 level, but it is back below it now. I feel like earnings are going to make or break this pattern, and I mean, still a lot of weak action in Chinese tech, so it's kind of hard to be too bullish, in my opinion. At 11.5 points, options not cheap, but the stock can really move. And even at 11.5 points, I mean, they might leave some room for a volatility strategy, but it does seem like one of those scenarios where there's more downside risk than upside risk, or more downside potential than upside potential. Sorry. NetEase also reports Tuesday morning. About 6.25 is what's expected. Um, I don't trade this name very often. Chinese gaming play, so I'll probably leave it alone. But it can occasionally move though. So if it's something that you trade and you like the look of it, I mean, it might be something you want to take a peek at. After the close on Tuesday, Ambarella. So about 9 points. That's what's priced in here. It's been out of play for a few months. I haven't talked about it in a while. I haven't traded in a while either. Tight range. This one, occasionally there's some bigger reactions to earnings, and it just really all comes down to whether it can get out of this range, right? I mean, if it gets above resistance, could be a pent-up move higher. If it breaks down, could be a pent-up move lower. So, um, if it does resolve the range, I feel like the option prices leave some room. If it doesn't resolve the range, then it's probably going to be tough to see this thing move 9 points. CrowdStrike, so big software name. About 22 points is what they're looking for. It's just straight up ripping since Palo Alto. So I mean, stock is up 8 days in a row now, literally parabolic. So it's going to be a very difficult setup. Typically, I avoid stocks that are straight up into earnings because it's kind of hard to determine whether good news is priced in. And the most frustrating thing about this is we literally just missed initiating a ramp into report on it because I had written this up, and then the next day it had this huge gap, so it kind of made it hard to get involved, which is really frustrating. But I mean, after this run, I doubt I'll get involved, but it could set up a sympathy play on other cybersecurity names, so that's something to watch. PVH, so retail name, about 10.5 points is what's expected, but those are monthly options. Apparel stock's been a little bit quieter than other retailers. It's been in a long range. Earnings been a little bit less volatile recently too. Restoration, not rest. Ralph Lauren was solid a few weeks ago, so I feel like this should be decent. I don't know how much of a movie you're gonna get, so I'll probably avoid. Wednesday before the open, Campbell Soup. So Obviously not the prettiest chart. Priced in about 2 points. Consumer staple is still lousy. Um, this is down. This is down sharply since it last reported. I mean, before today's bounce, it was down a few days in a row. So, I mean, sentiment seems pretty bad, and it's probably not going to be a great report. But it's kind of hard to trade now after how much it's dropped. Um, could lead to like a move on like a Kraft Heinz or Kellogg or Conagra or something like that. But I don't know if I'm going to do anything with Campbell Soup. Another retail name on Wednesday is Cons. So, oops, there we go. All right, so priced in about 4 points. Those are monthly options. So it had a huge pop last quarter on earnings. That was this move. Just retraced the entire thing. Um, I feel like after last quarter being so good, there should be some follow through. And if I can get risk down, I look at something speculative on the bull side. Wednesday after the close, so get a few bigger names. Sorry, it's running slow. So Asana, which let's refresh the page. So Asana, which I'll pull up in a second, priced in at about 10 points. Those are monthly options. You'll see when I pull it up here that the chart has been just straight up. It's been a rock star. Last earnings report, which was right here, that's what really set the ball in motion. So it's up almost 100% since it last reported, and expectations are a lot higher. I don't think I'll be in it, but I might look for a swing trade like right after, depending on where the stock is, because it does have, or at least lately, it's been moving, and I feel like it might be some potential, especially considering how tight it's been for the last few weeks. Charge point, about 2.25. That's what's priced in. The stock is volatile, but earnings typically aren't that big of events. It is hovering right above this key 20 support level, though, so they need to deliver. Under 20, this could be a huge breakdown. So the setup actually seems slightly more bearish to me. Chewies, 7.5 points is what's priced in. The funny thing about Chewies is, good or bad, it rarely moves enough to pay option buyers, so it's kind of hard to say that's going to change this quarter. I don't know why this is the case, but it just always seems to price in a big move, and it never typically moves what's expected, so needless to say, I'm avoiding it. Five Below, about 15.5 points is what's priced in. So after Dollar General and Dollar Tree just warned, and this is going to be interesting, those two lowered the bar, but Five Below has also had a big run into the report, or before the last 2 days it had a big run. So it could still move. The biggest hang up for me is just the option pricing at 15.5, because I don't know how much of a move you're going to see above that. So it seems like option pricing is pretty high. Nutanix, about 3.5 points. What's priced in? It hasn't been as consistent of a mover recently, but occasionally Nutanix will have a big swing on earnings. Chart, nothing special, but option pricing isn't bad at all. It might be more of like a speculative strangle idea for me later in the week, depending on where the stock is and how things are shaping up. Because, there have been some bigger moves historically on this one. Okta. So about 17 points is what's priced in on this. I sat in options on this for a month and didn't want to go. And then it pops the week right after my options expire. Right? Story of the option trading. I still think there's potential on it, and it's well off its 52-week high. But like Crowd, expectations are higher after this run. So I don't know if I'll do anything with Okta, but I might look at options on Cloudflare, Net, or Zscaler sympathy plays during the week. Before the open on Thursday, Ciena, so about 4.5 points what's priced in. Last quarter earnings were strong. Stock had a big breakout. Hasn't really any traction since, but it does seem due for a move. Looks like a decent bull setup, but pricing is not too bad. So I don't know, may work as like a volatility strategy. Excuse me. Especially if they disappoint. And plus, it does have a history of larger moves around earnings. Oh, excuse me. Signet, also Thursday before the open. Pricing about 10.5. It's crushed it a few quarters in a row. Looks set up to rally into earnings, so it's gonna have to see where it is going into its actual report because if it runs a lot, might not be a whole lot of upside in the actual release. After the close on Thursday, Broadcom. So you can see this chart real tight. Pricing about 19 points. Big semi report. Just hasn't not gone anywhere. And really, like the $1 million question is it going to break out of this range? Because if it does, then a measured move seems like it should be pretty substantial, and the options seem underpriced. But if it doesn't break out of the range, I mean, you can see very clearly that it hasn't really had big moves in the past 9 months. So really, all about whether or not it breaks out. If it does, it seems like the 19 points, the options could really leave some room. DocuSign, about 25 points is what's priced in here. Big software night, and this is one of the larger names. I mean, the last quarter, which was this, really set this rally in motion, and it's just absolutely ripped over the last couple months. It's kind of been consolidating, so it doesn't seem too extended actually. I mean, the bar is definitely going to be a lot higher this time around, so they're really going to have to crush it. But if I can get risks down and the stock doesn't really go crazy ahead of earnings next week, maybe this is something where I could look at something spec on the bull side. MongoDB, about 35 points is what's priced in. Seems like another setup where stock could really run into earnings. Last quarter is good. Stock is picking up some momentum, still off its 52-week high, so seems like it could make a run ahead of the report. So we'll have to see where it is the day of results. PagerDuty, about 575 is what's priced in. Those are monthly options. Good or bad, it's been a pretty consistent move around earnings. It's been sideways for a few months, and if it can get above 45, could be a nice breakout. Below 35, could be a nice breakdown. So, about 5 points, 6 points either way. There's some big levels, and I mean, even with monthly options, seems to be some room for volatility strategy, but we'll have to see how the week goes. And when I say how the week goes, what I mean by that is, if our stocks moving around on earnings, are they getting our options getting paid, etc. Right? So that's what I mean when I say it depends how the week goes. And then Friday before the open, nothing scheduled, so that's it. So still a lot of big names. Still some really big priced in moves too. So I expect it to be a busy week. All right. So if you like this video and you're looking for more information about trading earnings with options, please follow up with the link in the description of the video for more information on options in play. Have a great weekend. Stay well, and we'll talk to you on Monday.